Today, I'm here with Angela, and she's going to just share her amazing testimony. I'm super thankful that she's here today, and I get the privilege to just like sit here and ask her questions. And we're going to talk about her life, her story, and also we share something in common. We were both pastors' kids, which is crazy because it's so cool to meet somebody else that has been through that. And we're just going to talk about what it's like growing up behind the pulpit because we've seen some things. We've seen some things. So, I mean, I
Truth.
don't know about that, but we've
Yeah.
seen some things. So, um, let's just talk about like, tell us a little bit about you, Angela. Like, what are some things that you like to do? Like, well, let's just start light. Like, what do you like to do? What are your favorite things? What are your
Ooh,
hobbies? Like, what are your interests? What do you do?
I like to crochet. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yes, you do, and
Um,
you're good at.
I crochet. I can crochet just about anything you ask me to. But then what happens is I claim that I'm going to keep something for myself, and then someone sees it and they go, "Oh my gosh, it's so pretty," and then they end up getting it. So I've never actually kept anything I've made. So it's another funny thing is I've never kept anything I've made because I always just bless other people with them.
I
Um,
love that.
I like to cook when I have time to cook. Working
Yeah,
full time, we're going to church full time, life full time. It kind of breaks down the ability for me to get into my kitchen and do what I love to do. But I love to cook,
yeah,
um, and
exactly.
then and then I love to read. Give me a good book, and I'm a happy girl. So
All good stuff. That's awesome.
yes.
I love it. So tell us about your testimony, like, because you're a pastor's kid, and that's a lot to go through.
Hmm.
And like, because everybody's watching you,
Yeah.
and you literally like, I always envisioned myself when I was a pastor's kid, like I was in this fishbowl, and everybody was
Yep.
looking at me. That's
Yeah.
how I felt growing up.
Mhm. So I've always said that well, the first thing I said is I told God, which is the first problem. I told God, I'll be
Yeah.
anything you want me to be. Just don't you dare ask me to be a pastor's wife. And the reason
Mm.
I said that all growing up was because I saw what it was like to be a pastor's daughter. Um,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
so what I mean by that is as a pastor's kid, you live in a glass house.
Yes, you
And
do.
pastors' kids aren't really to allowed to make the
Oh yeah.
same kid mistakes as every other kid because you're living in a
Yeah.
glass house. And so if
Right.
you do something that's kid, it's just you being a kid, but it's
Mhm.
viewed so much differently than any other kid. Because they're expecting you to act differently because your dad has the title of pastor. Your
Yeah.
mom has the
Right.
title of whatever. My mom was a children's pastor. So dad was the pastor, mom was the children's pastor. So they expected me to act different
Right.
because I
It's a
lived
lot.
under this glass house, which kids are going to be kids. So it's just,
Yeah, it's true.
and it's
Yep.
okay for kids to be kids.
Yes, it is. I
Yeah.
agree. Yep.
So, I grew up as a pastor's daughter. I have two brothers that are 10 and 15 years older than me. They, we don't really communicate much anymore, but growing up,
Yeah.
they were they both were out of the house by the time I was 4. So
Yeah.
essentially I was raised as an only child. They would
Yeah.
come around for Thanksgivings, Christmases. We would see them weekends, things like that. But basically, I was raised as an only child.
Yeah.
Um, my dad would tell me all the time that he deserved me because my brothers were so ornery and did everything wrong, that that he deserved me because I was so well behaved. But what he didn't realize was happening is that I was still doing the same things.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
happened to be a little bit more sneaky about them, which I don't recommend. That's probably not the
Yeah.
best thing to admit to, but it's true. So I mean,
Well,
I think you can
you're
learn
honest.
one of two things from your siblings, right? You can learn to not do the same things, or you can
Yep.
end up doing the same things and just be smarter about the way you sneak around about it, which is honestly what I had done. Um,
Yeah.
but the reason I did that was because my life wasn't fully submitted and surrendered to Jesus. Um,
Yeah.
as I felt like I was gonna get to heaven on the skirt tails of my mom and dad's salvation, and that's not how
Yeah.
that works at all.
No.
So,
Not at all.
mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird growing up as a pastor's kid because I know like your parent dynamic was almost opposite, well, different than mine, but similar. Because my
Yeah,
dad was one way behind the pulpit and then a totally different person at home. Like,
yeah,
and then like, it's because I know, like you said, your mom was one way at church, and like, tell us about that.
yeah. So what I've said all along is that my mom was one way in public, and then in private she
Yeah.
took off her mask and she was somebody
Mhm.
completely different. And
Yeah.
so even to today, when I will tell people, okay, but this is how it really was growing up, I feel like there's many times that they people don't believe me because what
Yeah.
they saw is they saw the public side of her. They didn't see the private side. And the private
Right.
side of her was there was abuse that happened.
Hmm.
There was to my brothers, there was physical abuse, there was verbal abuse. There was there was just abuse all the way around.
Yeah.
So it was really hard because in public she would she would show herself as prim and proper and this sweet little
Hmm.
pastor's wife, and then you get
Oh,
home
yeah.
and you never really know what you're gonna get
Yeah.
until she crossed the threshold of the house of the door. And we almost could tell immediately what it was gonna be like because her it was like her face changed. And I've said that to people and they think
Yeah.
I'm crazy. But it really was. It was like she would pass the threshold of the front door and all of a sudden you have this new person in front of you. So we learned really quickly how to cope and how to adapt,
Yeah.
and not in healthy ways, but we had
Yeah.
to in order to be able to manage. And my dad was steady Eddie. He was I had people ask me all the time, "What's it like being a pastor's daughter?" And I would say, "Well, I don't know, you tell me," because he's the same behind
Hmm.
the pulpit as he is on a Friday night watching Friday Night Live wrestling with me eating popcorn. He's literally the same. There is no difference.
Yeah.
But with
Yeah.
my mom, there was a significant difference. So it was definitely
Uh,
different and strange and a little and challenging growing up,
yeah.
knowing like I don't know how to be a wife because or a mom. I don't know how to do those things and do them well with
Right.
excellence, like God would call us to do,
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
was exampled something so differently.
Oh, yeah. Right. How could you? Because what you grew up
Yeah,
with, like,
yeah,
I don't know how you would, like, because that's like similar to kind of how I grew up. But my dad was like all put together at church, but then when he got home, like we didn't know what we are gonna get. Like it was like just two different faces. Like, and I understand that where like literally his face would change.
yeah.
And I get that. It's like a demon would enter. Like I would like literally and it was so spiritual. Like I would see like just his face would change and like he wasn't there. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't even know who that is. Like that, like I don't believe that was my dad. I feel like he did wrestle with demons.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I know that my mom struggled with mental illness.
yeah.
Now being an adult, and especially being a nurse,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
I now can recognize that some of the things that we saw and that she did and that she said were
Yeah.
very indicative of some mental illness types of things. But we're
Right.
in those days, it was really y you don't talk about mental illness, you don't talk about the mental side of things because
True.
it was kind of faux pas, like, you don't talk about it, but it was very prevalent in our world, and so growing
Yeah.
up with that, now being able to recognize that, my perception of it's completely different. Um,
Yeah.
but mental illness is a huge thing, and so
It is.
you combine the mental illness with the ministry and being a
Oh, yeah.
pastor's daughter and all of those other facets. It's like an onion that has a ton of layers, and you don't know what layer to start with first, and so it was
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. So messy. And like it's just so crazy because the enemy just wants to come after like pastors' families. Like he wants to destroy the whole family dynamic. And it just
Yeah.
seems like it hits harder like being a pastor's kid. Like you have to all be in unity. Like it's like And I mean, what better way to, you know, get you like, but go through the pastor, like just
Yeah.
enemy
Yeah.
territory.
Well, and
And it's all
there's a
spiritual.
and there's such a stigma to pastors' kids. I mean, the
Yeah.
minute you say, "Oh, I'm a pastor's daughter," then like, well, in the high school that I went to, like you say you're a pastor's daughter, and all of the boys are like, "Ooh, she's a pastor's daughter." Like, but
Yes.
but
Yep.
honestly, like that's the stigma that
It is.
Satan would love to use this for is, oh
Yep.
well, let's break down what it looks like to be a pastor's kid. Let's break down what holiness is so that
Yeah.
they aren't walking in holiness and so that people
Yeah.
don't see who Jesus really is. When in all honesty, we were kids doing kid things, but I
You're
wasn't
right.
I wasn't exampled holiness was not exampled before me. And so I didn't know what that looked
Yeah.
like. Now that I know what that looked like, I would listen, the girl I was before, can I just go back and punch her? Like she was terrible. I just get her. She was
That's it.
terrible.
Punch
But
her.
just punch her in the face. But now that I know what it looks like to live
Yeah.
holiness, it's so much different than just saying I'm a Christian and I want to
It is.
follow Jesus. Like, yeah, you can be a Christian and you can follow Jesus, and that's great. You can
Yeah.
know all of the Bible verses, you can know all of the songs, but
Yep.
until it penetrates your heart and until it takes root, it's not going to mean anything.
True. Yep. It's true. Lukewarm Christianity, because like I grew up very lukewarm. I did
Mhm.
not get on fire until like just a few years ago. So like I grew up so lukewarm.
Girl, same.
Yeah.
Same, same, same.
And it's like, I can live like hell for like 6 days a week, go to church, and
And then
like
repent on
there's no
Sunday, but then
transformation.
Monday's a coming.
Mhm. Right. Like but there's no transformation. And then, you know, when I was lukewarm, I was like, well, what's the purpose? Especially when my dad ended his life, he took his own life. I backslid completely. I'm like, well, you know what? Like everybody's miserable at church. My dad was a hypocrite. Why would I even want to serve the Lord? Like, cause I know you've been hurt. So like what made you like, backslide and then like come to Jesus? Cause you went through some major stuff.
Yeah, I did.
Mhm.
So growing up, I was molested by family members. I was raped by family members.
Oh,
I told my mom what had happened, and she told me that good girls don't tell. And so I was told that I needed to be quiet and not talk about those things because good girls don't tell. And so
right.
I never talked about them. Because I never
Mhm.
talked about them and I never got the help that I needed through that, I ended up becoming very promiscuous. And at the age of
Yeah.
17, I got pregnant from a boyfriend. And I was told that an abortion was my option, that was my only option, that
Wow.
if I had the baby, I would be distorting and ruining my dad's reputation as a pastor. And so I had to get an abortion in order to save face. So I went and had the abortion, like I was
Wow.
told I had to. And then the very next week, Organ Right to Life in our area has the life chain every October, where you go out and you hold up signs, and some of the signs say Jesus heals and forgives, and some of the signs say abortion kills children. 2 weeks after the abortion I had, I was told that I had to participate in the life chain. So I was out there on Lancaster holding up a sign that said abortion kills children, knowing that 2 weeks before I had done that same thing. So,
Oh my gosh.
and
Wow.
it was so difficult because it was this hidden thing that I could never talk about.
Right. Yeah.
To the point that my husband, who we've been married for 8 years, we he didn't even know about it until just a couple of years ago. When
Wow.
I finally felt safe enough to say it and be like,
Yeah.
so this is
Yeah.
why this month is always difficult for me. This is why this always comes up. Um,
Yeah.
so but I mean the promiscuity, started because the the molestation and the rape and none of that was ever handled in the way that it should have been from the start. And so
Right.
I should have
Right.
been able to get the help that I needed, and I was not
Yeah,
given the help
definitely.
that I needed. And
No.
had that been taken care of, and had I received the help that I needed, then I don't believe that there would have been other things that happened in my world. So
Right.
that's gigantic. It's huge.
Yeah,
But God
it
is
is.
God heals. And so
Yeah,
I'm
he does.
okay from that now, but that's taken a lot of work and a lot of introspective stuff, and God's had
Right.
to do a lot of healing in my heart to be able to forgive other people in order to be able to
Yeah.
move forward and even to speak about it. I couldn't speak about it
Yep.
for the longest time.
Yeah. That oh, I can't even imagine. Like that had to have been really hard. And like that's so awful. Like to be pressured to do it just because of how it looks. Like that's like and then to have to be in a like like life march or whatever you call it. But like
Yeah.
that's messed up. That's like really messed up. It's like, well, doesn't that seem a little hypocritical? You guys told me to do this and now you're making me stand over here with these people. Like what? Like that's awful.
Yeah, it was one of the hardest things. I've been through several hard things, but that was one of the hardest things is because I was like,
Yeah.
Here I am 2 weeks before, and I was participating in the same thing that I'm now saying kills children. Well, sure, yeah, I recognize that yes, that's accurate. Um, when I went into the abortion clinic, the lady who was helping me said, "Do you want to hear the heartbeat?" And I said, "Yes." And my mom immediately said, "No." And I told her, I said, "I at least want to hear the heartbeat. If you're going to take my baby away from me, I at least want to hear the heartbeat one time." And so that that has been something that I've kind of carried with me is that I heard the heartbeat, and it was a
Yeah.
healthy heartbeat, and I know that, but that's actually been something that's been balm to my soul, that has been helpful to me, to
Right.
know that I heard that, and I know what I heard, and that's okay. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, tough stuff.
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy too. And like your dad didn't know about it though, or was that kept a secret from your dad?
Was kept a secret from him. As far as I know, it was always kept a secret. I did have to take a little bit of time off of school because of it, and my mom I went to a private Christian school, and my mom just told the school that I wasn't feeling well, so I stayed home for a couple of days.
Wow. Man, I just don't know how you could I don't know. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's awful. Like just to go through that and be like, wow, doesn't this seem a little hypocritical? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even now when there's the life chain and I'll be like I will intentionally, like, avoid the area when I know life chain is going on. But there was many years that I would drive by and life chain would be happening, and I would immediately just get angry that they were
Oh
doing
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And now
Yep.
I'm like, well, I'm not angry that they're doing it, but like my thought is what is holding up a sign saying abortion kills children? What is this doing for the young girl who didn't have a choice, who didn't have an
True.
option? What is this doing
Yeah.
to her? Like this
Yeah.
isn't helping her. So instead of holding up a sign, what are you going to do to support her through something that's
Right.
difficult? How are you going to go hold her
Yeah.
hand? How are you going to go be Jesus to her? And
Right.
I don't have all those answers about what that looks like, but what I do know that looks like is that looks like redemption. And that looks like going
Yep.
to her and saying, people have made mistakes and mistakes have happened, but Jesus loves you and it's
Yep.
okay. So you go and
Amen.
you stand beside them, you rally with them, you cry with them because
Yeah.
sometimes you need to cry with them. And then you
It's true.
pick up and you dust off and you move on. And then you use that as a platform and as a footstool
Yeah.
for ministry.
True. Yeah. That's true. Cause you can relate to someone that's been through that
Hmm.
like better than someone that hasn't, you know?
Yeah.
And that's and like I wish they didn't hold up signs like that because I mean, it really is a deterrent. Like, we're supposed to be
Mhm.
Jesus, we're supposed to be loving, but speak the truth in love, but holding a sign up like that, that's just really, like, really distasteful. It's like, we want them
Yeah.
to know the truth, but also, can we do it in a way that doesn't feel like we're bashing them or we're trying to scare these women away? Like, we wanna
Yeah.
be the resource to help them so that they don't have to go through that, you know? Like, how can we be Jesus but we don't need to hold up those kind of signs. I don't know. I always
Right.
thought that was a little abrasive. It's like, okay, like we know that it's murder. We know that. Like
Right.
we know abortion is murder.
Right.
But we don't need to hold signs up like that. We
Correct.
can say Jesus loves you and I don't know, like
Yeah.
save your baby. I don't something else. Just put
Yeah.
something else on the sign.
Yeah.
It's just so
There
distasteful.
yeah, there's definitely other ways that you can approach it. So,
Yeah, there is. Just like if you hold up a sign and say, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell. Like, I'm sorry, but people are probably gonna like throw stuff at you.
well, yeah, I
Like,
mean, and
it's
people probably already I mean, people already know that they're not making good decisions. I mean, people know right from
yeah,
wrong. Most 90% of the time, people know right from wrong.
most people do.
So, they already know
Yeah,
what they're doing. It's just, teaching them and having them know right from wrong. And what's okay and
right.
what's not okay. And then teaching people in love what repentance is. So repentance
Yes.
is not a big boot in the sky waiting to clock you in the head. It's love,
Yep.
which I never
It is.
understood. I always understood it as a big boot in the sky ready to smack me upside the head. Uh, And I was for a long time as a pastor's daughter, I was scared of God because I didn't
Yeah.
understand redemption and I didn't understand
Right.
repentance because I thought repentance meant that
Yeah.
I just said sorry for everything I did, but
Yeah.
it didn't come with love. And so I didn't understand
Right.
that it came with love.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I get that because, like, I grew up very similar, like, I thought God was angry all the time, and he's ready just to, like, smite me off the earth, like, just
Right?
this constant fear, like, I never
Yeah,
experienced the Holy Spirit, and I didn't see him as a loving father, I just saw him as, like, this angry God that was just gonna blow me up, like,
for
that's
real.
how I felt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you're just waiting for the shoe and like just waiting for the shoe to drop. And I think that that's part
Yeah,
of the way I was raised in the home I was raised in is not ever having the consistency of knowing what was coming next and not ever having
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
stability. And
Uncertainty.
so yeah, so there was always like this undercurrent of chaos happening and it didn't
Yeah.
matter
Right.
and if there was peace I then was scared that there was peace because then I knew that chaos was still coming. So I think it's
Right.
partly that, like, and the
Yeah.
authoritative figures in my life, my mom and my dad. I didn't
Mhm.
like. My dad was my safe person. My mom,
Right.
I never knew what to anticipate, and so that was hard.
Yeah. Mhm. It is hard, yeah, and, like, for me, it's, like, flipped, so, like, my mom was
Yeah,
the safe person, but
right.
she was more of, like, a friend, so we had, like, a friendship relationship, which also isn't healthy either,
Sure.
you don't have a
Yeah.
parent, you have a friend, but my dad was, like, the one that did all the disciplining, like, and, like, he threw the hammer down, and he would, like, get mad at me if I didn't read my Bible, like, you should not approach your children like that, like, I'm just like,
Yeah.
"You're mad at me?" Like, he was mad at me for not reading my Bible, like, he'd come in my room, "Have you read your Bible today?" I'm just like, "Whoa," like, wow,
Yeah.
okay. Like, very legalistic, though, like, that was my growing up, just legalistic, like, you gotta do all these things, and, like,
Yeah.
it just felt like you'd never, like, measure up, you know? Like,
Yeah.
God's still mad at you, you know? Yeah,
So weird. So
yeah, it's
when I came to realize that God isn't mad at me, I was like, "Wait,
yeah,
he's not mad at me. Wait, he actually loves me?" And so that took me on like on a whole rabbit trail of like
yeah,
learning who is God? Who i- who is he?
right,
What's his character? Who is he? And then once I went on that rabbit trail, then it took me on the other rabbit trail. Well, then who am I? Like, who does
yeah,
God say that I am? Okay, well, if I know who God is and I know who I am, it was like my mind was blown, like completely blown. Because nowhere
yeah,
in it did he
yeah,
say, I've got a big boot in the sky and I'm gonna kick you upside the head. It was, "You're my
No.
daughter and that's enough and I love you." And I was like, "I'm your what? Hold on. I'm so confused." But
Yeah.
that that was a mind-blowing moment to me for me to realize that I'm enough just as I am. I don't have to be anything extra. He made me
Yeah.
quirky and he made me crazy and he made me wild. And he made me like that because the world needed a crazy, kooky, wild Angela. You're welcome.
Yes. Yes, of
So
course.
I'm now thankful to understand who I am. But I now understand
Yeah.
who I am because I understand who he is. So it
Yes. Yep.
understanding his character was so it was incredible learning who he is, because that then showed me
Yeah.
who I am.
Yep. So good. And it's like, yeah, because then you just know him as like a loving father, like, and
Yeah.
it's such a different perspective. It's like, oh, I can actually have a relationship with him. Like, I didn't think that I could actually like pray and like hear his voice and actually like get a response and like talk to him like he's my best friend. Like, I didn't think you could actually do that. Like, I didn't grow up
Mhm.
with that. Like, I literally, this is so new for me. Like, I started walking with the Lord again, like for the last 8-ish years or so now. So it's been a journey, but I backslid for over 7 years. So I'm still learning a lot, but I'm like, wow, you could actually have a personal relationship. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit. So I'm sure yours is pretty similar to that too. Like, but um, let's pivot and let's talk about what you do for work because you've seen people leave the earth. Like, you've seen some spiritual things working in
Yeah.
hospice.
Yes.
I want to talk about that because I know you probably have some good stories about working in hospice and seeing people pass and like what have you seen like.
So I'm a hospice nurse. I've been a hospice nurse for two different agencies. Um, and right now I wear two different hats with the agency I work for. So one of the hats I wear is a spiritual care coordinator, which is a fancy term
Yeah.
for saying that I help people through grief after their loved one has passed. And the other one is that I'm a nurse with the agency. Um, there's there's a lot of crazy that happens. I
Oh,
always said
that.
that I never wanted to go into mental health because mental health is not my jam. I don't like it. I don't want it. And I'm pretty sure that that was skewed because of how I was raised and growing up, and I didn't like it, and
Oh
I didn't
yeah.
want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Now realizing that what I do every day is mental health. um, but
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
there's a significant difference with patients and families who know Jesus and who have a faith in Jesus and who are truly rooted in their faith and how they approach
Yeah.
death versus
Mhm.
people who aren't. Um, People who don't know Jesus, they're scared. They're just
Yeah.
they're petrified because they don't know what's coming. I actually had a patient not too long ago, and I was there as a nursing visit, and he said, "I need to talk to a pastor." And I looked at him and I scooted my chair closer and I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, because eternity is a really long time and I need to know that I know where I'm going." And I said, "Well, I've got
Yep.
good news for you. I'm sitting right here. So let's talk about it." He said, "No, I need a pastor." And I said, "Mhm." I was like, "I'm a Christian and I love Jesus. And so I can
Yep.
talk to you about that." So we
Yep.
talked about it and I led him to Jesus. And then I went out and I talked to his daughter and I told his daughter, I was like, "Dad's vitals were great today. Everything was okay clinically from a clinical standpoint. And oh, yeah, by the way, dad
Right.
accepted Jesus today." And she looked at me and she goes, "We don't do that in our family." And I said, "Well,
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure what to tell you, but dad just did. And this is why." And then that opened her up. She just started like word vomiting all over about all of this hurt that she had and past church
Yeah.
stuff that she's just struggled with. And all of this stuff just like came flowing out of her. And so I reminded her, I was like, the
Wow.
beautiful thing is that Jesus is right in the middle of all that hurt. He's right in the center of it,
Amen.
and he has
Yes.
felt every part of that, and he knows everything that you've gone through, and he loves you.
Mhm.
And so she
Yes.
stops and she just looks at me and she goes, "Dad accepted Jesus." And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Well, then I probably should too." And so then I led her to Jesus too, which is
Awesome.
incredible.
I love that.
Um, but
That's amazing.
the contrast between people knowing Jesus and how they approach death. I mean, honestly, they look at it as a celebration. I mean, you're
Yeah.
graduating to heaven.
Yeah.
Yes, they're going to miss their loved one. They're going to be sad that they're gone. All of those human emotions are still very valid and very present. But
Yes.
they
Right.
know that they grieve as those we don't grieve as those who have no hope. We have a hope in Jesus, knowing that we're going to see our loved ones again, knowing that
Right.
our loved ones
Yep.
aren't going to hell. So we grieve different. And so there's such a
Yes.
beauty in that. Um and I had another little lady, she was 102. She was so sweet. She was the
Wow.
size of my pinky. But she
Tiny.
was she's tiny. She loved Jesus more than I tell you, more than almost I think anybody I've ever seen. And at her last breath, she opened her eyes really big and she goes, "Oh, Jesus," and closed her eyes and she was
Oh,
gone.
wow.
And I was like,
That's amazing.
"Okay." So like it was
Wow.
it's the contrast between the two. It's the
Yes.
contrast of fear versus faith. It's the
Yeah.
contrast of like being riddled in your own shame and then walking out in freedom. Um
Right.
Hospice is so I told again, I tell God lots of things. I told God when I was in nursing school that I didn't want to work in geriatrics, I didn't want to work in
Mhm.
pediatrics, and I didn't want to work in hospice. And God laughed at
Yeah.
me because those are the three
Yep.
places I worked at in my nursing career, and the only three places I worked at it in
Amen.
my nursing career, ironically. But hospice,
Amen.
right? But hospice definitely has my heart. I
Yeah,
it has to be more than a job. It has to. If
it
I wasn't
does.
called to hospice, then I would burn out in 2 seconds flat because hospice is hard.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I
because
bet.
I'm called to it, then I'm walking
Yeah.
in ministry every single day. And so
Yeah,
it
you are.
feels different because you're walking into ministry every day. You're not working
Yeah,
just for the paycheck. It's completely different.
true. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense because I mean, that can be a pretty heavy job, like, I couldn't do it, like, God gives us we each have a measure of grace. We're all
Yeah.
called to something.
Yes.
Everybody is called. It's just whether you pick it up or not. It's whether you pick
Mhm.
up an answer or not, you know? And it's funny because very similar, like you didn't want to work in all those areas. Like for me, I didn't want to go into ministry. And God's like, hey, guess what? You're going into ministry. I'm like, well, that's not what I wanted to
Surprise!
do. Like, oh
Surprise!
my goodness. Surprise, you're going to ministry. Like, what? Like, I didn't want to do that. Like, and I said, I don't want to go into ministry because I've seen what it's done. Like, I
Yep.
lived it. It destroyed my whole family. I'm
Right.
not ever going through that again. And then, you start walking with the Lord. Like after I was done backsliding, he's like, oh, well, guess what? You're called to the ministry. Like, oh my goodness. Like, oh, why are we like, what? Did not ask for this. Like, he just gives it to you. It's like, and
Yeah.
it's God's humor sometimes, I think, too, because he's like, oh, well, guess what? Remember when you said you didn't want to do that? Well, this is what you're doing.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah, looking back, my
Yeah.
life has kind of been God's humor all along, telling him that I didn't want to be a pastor's wife. I didn't want to marry anybody in the ministry. And then there's
Yeah.
Carlos. And then telling him I didn't want to work in these three places of nursing. And he giggled and sent me to those three
Yeah.
places of nursing and, all the things.
Yeah, that's what he does though. Like, because very
I
similar. Like,
know.
I just think it's really cool. Like how like believers are drawn together and like we've gone through similar things, so we can like share in that and be like, oh, well, it was like this for me, and like it was like
Yeah.
just being able to like lean on each other and understand each other
Hmm.
and all of that. Just it's really cool how I don't know. It's amazing how God works because especially when we say no, I don't want to do that, then He's like, well, guess what? You're gonna do that. Like
He goes,
what? Like
ha
oh
ha,
my
I got a
goodness.
plan. I'm
Exactly.
going to redeem
Yep.
that.
Yeah, it's true because I mean, this whole process, like over the last few years, I was like, well, when I said, okay, God, I will step into ministry, but you need to provide all of it. And like, he pays for my whole first year of school. So I was like, oh, I
Right.
guess that means I have to go into ministry now. Like, I was like, really like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't know if I'm really called. And then that happened. So I was like, oh, okay, well,
Okay, well, I guess I am.
just like, pretty
Surprise.
much. Yeah. It's like, well, it couldn't get any clearer than that.
Right.
Surprise.
Yeah.
But it's so good, because we're all called to something. And like, if, and if you don't know what you're called to, then you need to pray and seek the Lord.
Right.
Like, because we're all called to do something. We're not just going to sit here until Jesus returns. We're supposed to keep
Mhm.
ourselves busy, like occupy until he returns. So we got to
Yep.
keep moving, and we're all given a job. We're not everybody's called to the pulpit, and that's okay.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
not everybody's called in those positions. Like, there's always like, we're as a believer, you are in ministry everywhere that you go,
Mhm.
to the grocery store. I
Yep.
will actually like tell people about Jesus in the grocery store, and I mean, I get some weird looks, but I'm like, whatever. I'm on mission everywhere I go. I know you went through some
Well,
dark stuff, because I'm sure whoever listens to this might have gone through similar things, and this might encourage them to like get through those dark times. So,
yeah.
like, tell me about like some of the darkest stuff you've ever been through, like
I've tried
anything
to
really.
I've been depressed to the point that I tried to commit suicide more than once. Um
Yeah.
Again, hiding everything from my husband because, that's what you do, right? You hide things from your husband. Um but I lost both of my parents within 4 months of each other in
Yeah.
2019. Um
That's fine.
my mom passed away in February, and then in June my dad passed away. They were both on hospice, and
Yeah.
my mom was on hospice for like less than, I think she was on hospice for like 4 days. And then
Okay.
my mom passed away in February, and my dad was told he needed to go on hospice in March. So the hospice nurse comes out and she said that, your dad needs to be on hospice. And I looked at her and I said, no. And she looked at me and she said, what? And I said, no. And she said, no. And she goes, why? She goes, if this was your patient and these were his numbers, and scooted his paperwork over to me, she said, as a nurse, what would you say? And I was like, well, as a nurse, I would tell you that this patient needs to be on hospice. And she looked at me and I said, no, no, no. You're talking about a hypothetical patient when you ask me that question. This is my dad. This is completely different. This is
Right.
this is my dad.
Yep.
My dad my
Yep.
dad looked at me. My dad's nickname for me was Squeaky. He looked at me and he said, Squeaky, shut up. I'll sign my own paperwork. So he signed his paperwork and he put
Wow.
himself on hospice. And he passed away
Wow.
in June. Um, I didn't know I didn't know how to deal with grief well. Um, Grief is weird. Grief is really weird.
Yeah. It
People
is.
say that it changes you, and it absolutely does. But I
Yes, it
didn't
does.
know how to handle grief at all. So
Yeah.
what I did was, instead of turning to Jesus, which now I recognize was the right answer, I turned to alcohol. And I
Yeah.
became an alcoholic. I became a closet alcoholic. I would go to work. I would work all day long, and on my way home, I would stop at a convenience store, and I would get two of whatever I wanted that day. I would slam them on the way home. I would chuck the evidence out the window as I was driving home and chew gum, thinking that it was hiding the evidence. It was not. My husband is not stupid. He
Yeah.
was well aware of what was happening. And
Yeah.
then one night I was sitting by my husband and I looked over at him and I said, you know, don't you? And he said, yeah, I know. And then he said nothing else. So then the behavior
Wow.
continued because I didn't know what else to do. So the behavior just continued. During that time, I became incredibly depressed. I tried to commit
Yeah.
suicide 3 times. One time I took a ridiculous amount of Tylenol, which should have killed me. And it did not. It made me really sick and I threw up everywhere. That's the worst that it did to me.
Wow.
Looking back, uh, the amount of Tylenol that I took, I should not be here. I should be dead
Wow.
with what I had taken. Um, and my husband and I started going to church, and we had gone to celebrate recovery. And my hu- I I was going to celebrate recovery because my husband said, "Hey, let's go to celebrate recovery." I thought celebrate recovery was for all of those other people. I didn't think it was for me. And so there was one night, it was
Yeah.
chip night. And so everybody was getting up and getting chips for, I'm going to start over and I'm going to work on whatever this is, right? So
Yeah.
you go through all of the chips, and then at the end, you have another opportunity to go up and get a starting over chip. Like, you've heard what everybody has gotten chips for. Does anybody want a last
Right.
ditch effort? Do you want one last chance to come up and get your chip? So I went up and I got my chip for starting over, and it was for alcohol, and it was for suicidal ideation and planning, and actually trying to commit suicide. Um,
Right.
and my husband was looking at me completely dumbfounded, like what are you, like, what in the world? I hide things. It's what I do. um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. We were hiding it.
I was hiding, and I thought, haha, I thought I was hiding it well. I was not. Um, I was a closet alcoholic that everybody could tell who was a closet alcoholic. I mean, it's just what it was. Um,
Right.
but the thing that I'm thankful for is that my husband never called me out on it. He never he never
Right.
called me out, and he never said, "Hey, you need to fix this." He waited for the Holy Spirit to convict me,
Yeah.
and
So good.
to cause me to be the one to be like, "Mm, I need to change this in me. Like, this is not okay in me."
Yeah.
So, with that one night when I said to him, "You know, don't you?" I knew that he knew, but he wasn't saying it. But that was honestly one of the darkest times in my life. I didn't know how to function without a mom and a dad. Like, that was really weird. Like, how do you go through life and you lose both parents like
Yeah.
that and so quickly? And I mean, I've had people tease me that year, 2019, they said that year was kind of like a country song in my world, because I lost my house, I lost both of my dogs,
Wow.
I lost both of my
Oh my
parents.
goodness.
I mean, so, like,
Wow.
I lost my car, which my car is, it seems insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but when you're adding it to one more layer of loss, it was literally
Oh
loss
yeah.
on top of loss on top of loss, and I didn't know how to handle that, and I didn't know
Yeah.
what to do with that. And so, path of least resistance was, I'm gonna go to alcohol because alcohol is gonna
Yeah.
numb all the feelings that I have, and I
Yeah.
don't have to feel them. So, I went to
Right.
alcohol and I became a severe alcoholic. Um, but then what happened is, when I decided that I was gonna get sober, I got sober, but then those feelings, they come back. They don't just stay
Yeah.
away. So you still have to deal with those
No.
feelings, and then I had to deal with those feelings
Yeah.
sober. And um I am 3.5 years sober. It'll be 4 years in February. And
Amen.
I'm still learning to muddle through some of those feelings. This
Yep.
month will be 7 years since my dad died, and I
Oh.
still, on the day of his death, I still am like, I want to skip the day. I want to pretend like it doesn't exist. Can I just
Yeah.
sleep through the whole thing? I recognize that I
Yeah.
can't. That the day that he died
Yeah.
this year is the day after Father's Day. And so that that
Ugh.
puts that almost puts a cloud over Father's Day for me. It makes it hard to celebrate
Yeah.
Father's
It
Day.
does.
Um, I'm thankful for who my dad
Yeah.
was, and I'm thankful that he
Yeah.
was always steady in my life. He was always the steady one, and he was always the safe one.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't know how to function. Like, how do you function and how do you maneuver? And so,
True.
what I would encourage people is, like, loss is real. Whether it's your goldfish
It is.
or your parents, it doesn't matter. Loss is loss, and loss is real. And then there were
Mm.
things in my life that I had lost that I had just never dealt with because good girls don't tell, right? So there were things that I just had never dealt with that I realized that as when
Yeah.
my parents passed, those things came back up again. Um,
Right.
the abortion and losing the baby, that all came back up again because I didn't know how
Wow.
to deal with that. And so it was grief compounded. So what I've learned is
Right.
if you don't deal with grief, then grief is going to become a hindrance. But grief
Yeah.
is
It's
it's
true.
also beautiful. My grandma said, my dad's mom, my grandma said, "We grieve because we loved well," which is true.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah.
today, not so much 6 years ago. Today, I'm thankful for grief because it means that that I
Right.
loved, and that I loved my parents, and that I loved what I've lost. But it also has completely
Yeah.
formed me and shaped me. And I my job is surrounded by grief, and that's part of my job is that I help
Mhm.
people through
Yeah.
that process so that they can talk
Wow.
about it. Because grief is it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, it is. Wow. That's I like how you put that though. It just means that you loved well. Like I didn't think about it like that. Like that's
Yeah.
actually really cool. It really changes like the perspective. And like how cool is it that God would utilize your experiences for a testimony, but then you're out there working on the front line. Like you can actually like legitimately comfort these people. And like that is your calling. Like that is like
Yeah.
so cool. I mean, it's awful to have to go through these things, but God just turns it like beautiful, like
Yeah.
the Bible verse, which I don't know what the address is, but he turns our ashes for beauty, beauty for ashes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just was thinking about that when you were talking about that. That's what it made me think of. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard. Like I feel you on that. Like June is the month I lost my dad too, and it's been like 16 years now, and it's still like grief is weird.
It's
It's
weird.
really weird.
It's weird. And it's weird how it ebbs and flows. And there
Yes.
are days, which might sound terrible. There are days that I'll go through my day and not think at all about my mom or my dad. And I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm doing life. I'm
Yeah.
doing great. And then the next day, I might go through Safeway and look over and see a box of Nilla wafers and immediately be taken right back into a wave of grief. And
Yeah.
that's okay. Those waves are okay.
Yeah.
It's whether you allow those waves to become debilitating or not. So
It's true.
it's kind of like waves of an ocean. Like the waves are always going to be
Mhm.
there, but are you going to let them
True.
flood you? Are you going to let
Yeah.
them flood you, or can you sit back and can you appreciate the wave?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well
I've
said.
learned that I can appreciate the wave. It may not always feel good.
Yes.
I may not always like it, but I can appreciate the wave.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's well said, and it really puts things into perspective. Like I mean, we're all on a journey, so
Yeah.
God is taking us through something different, but it's just amazing how we can all reach somebody though, like going
Mhm.
through different things in their life because we might have experienced something similar. But yeah, and I mean, the whole thing with grief, it's like, are you going to let it consume you, or like you said, sit back and just watch it, experience it, go through the emotions, but then you got to like pull back. Like you don't want to get sucked into the wave. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and at the
that's where we get
beginning, I
ourselves in trouble.
absolutely was sucked into it. I mean, I was sucked into it so
Yes.
far that I became an alcoholic. I was sucked into it so far that I tried to even take my own life. And now I look
Yeah.
back and I'm like, thank goodness that God is so faithful that he didn't
Yeah.
allow those things to come to fruition. Which
Right.
there were a couple of things that I did that should have ended up taking my life that they didn't.
Right.
And they didn't
Yeah.
because God has a plan. Um,
He
sitting
does. Yep.
sitting in it in the moment, I didn't see the plan. I didn't recognize the plan. I was just over my head and I didn't know what to do with myself. And so I was trying to I just want it gone. But God is so faithful. He's so faithful. And because because I walked through such a hard time, I now can look back and go, ah, okay. So I don't want anybody else to go through that. So then what can I
Yeah,
do to go and grab them by the hand and pull them up and say, okay, I'm here with you. Let's hurdle this together and you're going to be okay.
right.
But let's talk about it because talking about it's okay. So let's talk about it and then hurdle that with them. Be by their side. Don't
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the one thing I did notice about grief is that at the time when I needed people the most is when people scattered. So
Oh, yeah.
so
Yep.
people were present for probably the first couple of weeks. They were they were present, they were there. I got what I refer to as grief buffet, which is just everybody bringing me food. That's what I call grief buffet. Um so
Right. Yeah,
you have
right.
this flood of all of these people all of a sudden in your world. And then at about
Yeah,
week 6, they're all gone, and you have to go back to normal life, and you don't know how to
yeah,
function in normal life, and so that's when it all started with me, is at about weeks between week 6 and week 8, I was like, I don't know how to function, but that's because everybody scattered, because they were like, "Oh,
yeah. Yep.
she's fine, she's gonna be okay," and it's like they were just gone. So, that's why with what I do for a job, um, week 6 between week 6 and 3 months, I'm vigilant to call people. I'm vigilant to reach out to people. "Hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? What can I do for you? You want me to come by? I'll bring you a coffee." Like, I do those things on purpose because I remember what that specific time frame felt like when the cards
Yeah,
stop, when the phone calls stop.
yeah.
That's when, for me, that's when those other coping mechanisms popped up in my world. And I don't want somebody to
Right.
fall into those same coping mechanisms. So if there's something I can do to help pull people out of that coping mechanism, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I mean, just you've learned from experience, and like
Mhm.
that's really amazing that you are able to impact other people's lives like that because the world needs people like you, like because it's just amazing. Like God's really put you on mission for that. I love that.
I
So
didn't
good.
want to be on mission for it, but that's
He
where he
chose
put
you.
me.
You were chosen. That's where
He
he
was
put
like,
you,
"See that
like
part
whether
right
you
there?"
wanted it to be.
I know. I blame my mom
Hmm.
and dad. They raised me in the funeral home. So it's their fault.
That's
So,
so funny.
yeah. From the time
I
I was
guess that's where
7
it all
until I
began.
was yeah, from the time I was 7 until I was 14, we lived in funeral homes. The first one was in Newburgh, and the second one is now the Ike Box downtown on Cottage Street in Salem. And it's a coffee shop. And so I went in there not too long ago to order coffee because nurses like coffee. So I walked in there and
But yeah.
ordered my coffee, and this sweet little barista leans up to me as she's handing me my coffee and goes, "Did you know this used to be a funeral home?" And I said, "Did you know I used to live here when it was a funeral home?" And she goes, "Ugh."
It's like, "What?"
Her reaction was fantastic.
That's
So,
amazing. But
yeah.
so it wasn't a funeral home when you lived there though, but it used to be one.
No, it was a funeral home
It
when we
was
lived there.
one. Mhm.
Yep.
What? What made you guys wanna live in a funeral home? That seems a
I
little
was
different.
7. I was between 7 and 14. I didn't have an option. I just went where mom and dad went. Um So there's in funeral homes back in the day, like in the 80s and early 90s, they would have an apartment above the funeral home or below the
Huh?
funeral home. And that's where
Oh, wow.
the caretakers is what they would call them. The caretakers would live. It was like a living quarters. And so if there was a funeral before, like on a Saturday or after like regular business hours, then my mom and dad would be the ones to like show family members to where their family member was so that they could go see them. Or they would like help my mom would help them order flowers, that kind of thing. So, but I
Oh, I
saw
see.
some interesting funerals.
I
There were
bet.
definitely interesting
Wow.
ones.
That's so crazy, like, that would be I don't know if I'd pick a funeral to live in, I don't know.
I didn't.
That's
Mom
a
and
little
dad did.
strange. Yeah, you're like, "I didn't pick it, I didn't had to be there, I didn't wanna be there."
I did, however,
That is
learn to ride I
interesting.
learned how to ride my bicycle in between the aisles of caskets. So, I mean, that is something
Wow,
different.
that's
I know.
wild.
Yeah.
That's wild, most of us ride bikes outside, you're like, "I rode through caskets."
I've ridden little
Wow, that's
caskets.
really
Yeah,
interesting.
I know.
Wow. That's why you're so quirky. Now I
That
see.
now you know. Now it all comes together.
Comes full circle. Now it makes sense. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Like, I don't know a lot of people. I've never heard anybody say that before, so that would be a first. That's
Yeah, there you go.
wild.
Yeah, it's a great
Wow.
icebreaker.
No kidding. Like, when I was like 14 or like, however old you were, I was like running through caskets or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
weird.
my mom told me when I was like 7 or 8, I would go up to the casket and I would look over inside the casket, and if the person was smiling, they went to heaven, and if they weren't smiling, well, they didn't go to heaven. Which is
Oh my goodness.
that's not how that works, but, that's at the
Mm-mm.
age of 7, that's what I thought. So,
Yeah, you don't know any better. But it's kind of
yeah,
weird. It's like God already had a plan. Like
right?
way before. Like look at like where he was like putting it in place. Like that's
I
so
know.
weird.
He's got a sense of humor,
Wow.
let me tell you.
He really does. I mean, it all just like ties in together. Like that's like really amazing. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
I know.
That's awesome.
What do you do?
Wow. Right. What do you do? Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm so glad that we got to do this. Like I appreciate just you giving your time today
Yeah,
and just being open because like people need to hear this. Like I'm sure this is going to resonate with somebody, which I can't wait to like hear the comments from people because this is going to hit home for someone. And you really brought a
amen.
lot of wisdom and insight to this and that was so helpful and I just love how you worded all the stuff about grief. Like that's because
Yeah,
that's heavy for a lot of people and just
it
learning how
is.
to like deal with those emotions and just going through all of the heavy stuff. But even though you went through all that stuff, you still saw Jesus in all of it, right? It still drew you
Yeah,
back. Like he literally saved your life. I mean, you could have
literally.
left this earth a lot sooner, but
Mhm.
God had another plan. And so, just know that God has a plan for you. Like whoever listens to this today, like God has a plan for you. So
Amen.
don't give up. We're all on mission. We are all called. Everybody is called, so you just gotta pick up the phone and you gotta go.
Yes.